Hello everybody, Jonathan Pullett here with West Coast weather. Today is February 11th, and we have another wave of Arctic air that is currently hitting the Pacific Northwest. It started to flow in through the Cascades and in the western portions of Washington and Oregon earlier yesterday actually. Lots of dry, cold air moving in as this polar lobe, part of the tropospheric polar vortex over central and eastern Canada. This is bringing another wave of cold air, and then we're going to get a Pacific system that you can kind of see right here, looking at the general ridge and trough positions way up in the atmosphere. Blues and these kind of greenish yellow, like neon colors, are troughs. Reds and pinks and oranges and yellows are ridges of high pressure. So if we play this out, we can see this really cold mass of air kind of just like wobbling around over Canada. It tries to make it out towards the western North America, but look how it kind of just gets pushed up into Alaska. It's kind of an odd looking pattern, but then look as this Pacific frontal system and low pressure center move into the coastline about right around Oregon, and then a second kind of batch of it moves into California, also bring a potent atmospheric river in the California. But this is going to bring some precipitation into our cold and dry air mass over western Washington, even parts of southwest BC, as well as we go into later on Thursday into Friday. And this is going to bring a chance of snow and winter precipitation in the parts of Portland and Seattle on Thursday in the Friday, even the potential for maybe some wintry precip for some of the higher hills as we go in the Saturday and Sunday. But the lowlands start to warm up pretty good after that, as the Arctic air you can just see how it all dissipates and the rest of it all moves out to the east as we go through this weekend and the early next week. Then there's potential for some ridges. The patterns are going to get highly variable as we go through next week. It looks like this is getting pretty far out there, but most models have some weak systems trying to move in. There's likely to be precipitation around at least every couple of days or so. Any ridges of high pressure look to build in they look to either be kind of too far east for the western areas to get fully blocked by the precipitation, or they just move out really fast. And models are kind of all over the place exactly how this is going to set up. So we'll just have to continue to look at that. But chances of precipitation continue all the way in the early next week, with plenty of frontal systems and low pressure systems potentially coming through. Now they're looking at the 6-hour precipitation type in inches and sea level pressure in millibars. You can see our system, our slug of moisture is starting to move into California as we go through later this evening and tomorrow morning, bringing some precipitation all the way down to Southern California, which really needs it. But watch as the strong low pressure system in the low to middle 980 millibar range bring some very intense snowfall rates, very heavy snow. Look at this. You can see these dark purples, but you can also see these dark greens overspreading much of California. There's also going to be high winds with this. Very major storm system for California. But it's also going to bring some likely some impactful weather to parts of the Willamette Valley, Portland, Seattle. Look at this. It brings the moisture far enough north to bring freezing rain in the parts of the Willamette Valley, even some snow potentially. However, it brings snow all the way up into the Seattle area. Generally, the European model is pretty light on the precipitation, but look at this. It keeps even potential for some snowfall away from the Puget Sound, away from the immediate water, even through Friday morning and the Friday afternoon before that kicks off. Then another system comes in later on Saturday and the Sunday. Some models are hinting at some of the higher hills, it being the cold air aloft being cold enough to bring the snow levels down, but it's really not going to be too exciting, because we'll finally warm up as we finally kick all the Arctic air out of the region. It moves all east. You can see the high pressure from the Arctic air all the way east to the Rockies. This will warm us up as we get moist Pacific air running into the area as these storm systems track to our northwest. Look at this. You can see precipitation and showers continuing into Sunday before another frontal system looks to make its way in the Sunday evening into Monday as well. More showers continuing with that. Potential for even more systems after that, more low pressure systems, even maybe getting down to California. So plenty to watch as we go over the next 10 days or so. Lots of model variability, but we're likely to get multiple systems as we go through later this week, into this week, and in the early next week as well. Now let's take a closer look at things at the Pacific Northwest. Here's Washington, Oregon, Western Idaho is over here, Southwestern British Columbia is over here. This is looking at 8-meter wind speed. This is giving us a good idea of where all the air is coming from right now. You can see if you're outside right now, it's pretty dry, still pretty cold. Most of the almost all the high temperatures on the west side of it and around Seattle have been in the 30s. Some places up north, closer to the Whatcom County in areas up towards Vancouver have not even gone above freezing today, and we're already getting into the evening hours, so we're not really expecting the warm up at all. But that's because we have outflow winds coming out of the Cascades from the east, so this is drawing all that cold air out from the interior of the continent and bringing it right inside the Cascades through the mountain gaps, the valleys. Our main conduit is the Fraser River Valley up here in southern BC. This is keeping us dry and very cold in the next couple days. The coldest air of the season with temperatures in the teens likely. For low temperatures on the west side, even negatives potentially for parts of eastern Washington, which I'll show you here in a moment. But you can see this air remains offshore, and then you can see our storm system approaching from the southwest. And as this approaches the coastline, we're actually going to get some very strong winds moving through the Columbia River Gorge, which is not too unusual for them. But if we look at wind gusts, you can see some of these wind gusts are starting to approach 70 miles per hour there along the gorge. So if you want to go up, if you live around the Portland area, you can go up to the Vista House and get some really strong winds, very cold air up there. So it's going to be kind of wild up there. There's going to be potential for some wintry precip as this moves in. You can see these winds continue to be out of the east as that low pressure system kind of moves towards the coastline, kind of dying down as the storm weakens. But look at this. This storm potentially has multiple low pressure systems as it starts the weekend. You can see the northern one, which is the more dominant one, and you can see the southern one as well. So going to be some interesting weather over the next couple days. If we look at now the high resolution Canadian model, the HRDPS, this is looking at wind chills. Let's go to this afternoon. You can see, look at this. This is not actual temperature. This is what the temperature feels like outside. So if it's drier or more moist, or if there's wind involved, it changes how the air actually feels outside. And you can see wind chills in Western Washington and Western Oregon are in the 30s below freezing, and in the 20s for parts of the Northwest Washington, as well as those cold northeasterlies and easterlies move into the area. Even just a gentle breeze with temperatures in the 30s can feel very cold out there. So make sure you dress in layers, especially over the next couple of days. As we go into this evening, however, with those temperatures dropping, look at these. You can see Bellingham dropping in the single-digit wind chills. Look at Eastern Washington just in the icebox. These are negative double-digit wind chills. As you get some breezy easterly winds and that really cold air just sinks. Look at this, just south of Spokane, look at negative 21. This is Fahrenheit, by the way. It's still cold even if it's in Celsius, too. You can see even potential for some single-digit, lower-teen wind chills for the Willamette Valley as well. Negatives in the Cascades in the backcountry. We start to warm up on Wednesday with wind chills starting to move into the 30s, but then we go right back into the icebox after that. You can see our low-pressure system now moving up from the coast. Now looking at dew point, this is basically a measure of humidity in the atmosphere at the surface. Actually, look at this. You can have negative. Look at all these negative dew points. This is the main characteristic of an Arctic air mass. Is the super dry air, and you can see this is this morning. Let's play this afternoon. You can see dew points start to drop down as we go into the evening and through the morning. But look at this. You can see single digits and negatives on the west side. You can see Arlington right here, -1. You can see Portland in the upper single digits as well. So very dry air. It is chapstick season out there for sure. Now looking at composite reflectivity and precipitation type on the NAM model, this is getting a look at things. This is looking at what the precipitation may look like as we go in the layer on Thursday. So precipitation starts moving in the southwest Oregon, Northern California as we go through late Wednesday night into Thursday morning. But look at this. You can see the blues and the pinks. Pinks are freezing rain. That is not fun stuff to deal with. Even a glaze of freezing rain, especially here in the Pacific Northwest, can cause lots of problems. So potential for a glaze of icing and potential for some snow for parts of the Willamette Valley as we go through Thursday morning. into around noon. But then watch as this slug of moisture comes over the Puget Sound. Look at this. Now we got a full band of snowfall moving into the Puget Sound as temperatures aloft will still are cold enough to support snow. And you can see this band move kind of mostly over the Kitsap Peninsula and up to the northeast. Look at watch how it kind of is dry on the eastern side. So those easterly winds I just showed you are actually going to be eating at the moisture as it moves into the western Washington. So places east of Seattle may have little to no snow as we go through later on Thursday and the Friday, as the air is going to be very dry, and those east winds, those descending east winds down the Cascades will kind of eat the moisture up as it moves down. There's potential for another wraparound thing of moisture as we go through late Thursday night and the Friday morning. The potential for more freezing rain for the Willamette Valley, part of the Southwest Washington. Also some snowfall potential for Seattle as well. Some malls still don't have any moisture moving over in the Seattle and Portland. No, Portland is pretty for sure, but Seattle, some malls don't even show the moisture getting to Seattle. So it's a very tricky forecast. It's going to be kind of a now forecast situation, but anywhere from a dusting to a couple inches of snow or more are possible for parts of Seattle. As you go north of Seattle, though, the chances go way down. Parts of Whidbey Island, you guys could get we could get some snow as we go through later Thursday and the Friday as well. But the moisture doesn't look to make it too far north as well. But you could still get some flurries. The NAM shows the snow it's dropping maybe an inch or two for southern Whidbey Island. This is just one model solution. Some models show almost nothing. Some show maybe even a little more. But you can see some flurries could even make it in the Skagit County as well. So just keep an eye out on the forecast in the skies. Looking at total snowfall from what the NAM model showed. Look, it showed a good swath of like 1 to 5 inches of snowfall for parts of the Kitsap, parts of western Snohomish, north western King County as well, parts of Olympia as well. But look at that, hardly shows anything north of like Freeland on Whidbey Island, north of the Kitsap as well. You can see though hardly any snowfall for Portland as well, and it's most likely just going to be freezing rain. And if we look down there, look at that, it has a couple hundredths of an inch to even potential for a quarter of an inch for the southern Willamette Valley. So even some freezing rain also for parts of Southwest Washington as well, out the Long Beach and Aberdeen as well. So just be very careful driving around on Thursday and the Friday, as there's going to be potential for winter precipitation around. Nothing too crazy, but even a little can impact the area around here. But also the pattern change coming up with the warmer systems will also give us some very beneficial precipitation. We had a very dry January, and February hasn't been too moist yet. We've had some of those snow systems and stuff, but definitely we would like more. You can see a couple inches of precipitation over the next like 10 days or so. Actually, just through like 7 to 8 days, we can get an inch of rain or more for Seattle, an inch and a half or more for Portland, a couple like 1 to 4 inches for parts of the mountains and stuff. So beneficial precipitation as these systems move through this weekend and the next week as well. Now looking at daily 2-meter temperature on the national blended models, you can see low temperatures in the teens and 20s on the west side, Willamette Valley, Seattle area, Vancouver. This is all in Fahrenheit. You can see Spokane getting down into the low single digits. Some areas potentially likely getting into the negatives out there as well, with some light winds as well. It's going to feel in the negatives out there. But it's not gonna feel great out there. You can see similar temperatures. That's on Wednesday as well. That's low temperatures likely Wednesday morning. The coldest temperatures of the day are usually in the morning. Thursday, it's also gonna get down very low as well, but you can see things start to warm up. And then as we go in the Friday, look at this, low temperatures are now starting to get close to the freezing mark. By Saturday and the Sunday, lows will start to get above freezing out west, even getting into the middle to upper 20s out east. So we'll finally warm up, but with lows closer to average, maybe still likely below average as we go in the next week, with low temperatures in the 30s. High temperatures tomorrow in it actually may break 40s for parts of the Seattle and Oregon area. Thursday, the high temperatures might be lower for Portland on Thursday in parts of the area. As that system moves in and those easterly winds it will also cool down the area as well, and it will keep us having easterly winds through Thursday night in the Friday. So that'll likely keep areas pretty chilly on Thursday as well. But then we finally warm up. Look at this. By Monday, the National Anomalous has us breaking 50 for parts of the areas on the west, which we haven't felt for what feels like a while now, as we've had this air locked in. But as those Pacific systems move in the region, we'll likely start warming up the average and even potentially but above average for the first time in what feels like a while now as we go through next week. So now taking a look at California and talking about that powerful system moving in the California. Look at this all the way through Sunday. This is total precipitation. You can see the Sierra Nevada approaching 5 to 6 inches. Some malls even show up towards 8 inches or more precipitation. You can see even some of the coastlines. Look at this, San Gabriel Mountains near Los Angeles approaching 3, 4, 5, 6 inches of rainfall. Some of the coastal mountains around San Diego and stuff approaching multiple inches of rainfall. Even the Bay Area, there's flood watches. There's so many warnings out right now. It would be take out too much time to list them all off, but there's high wind warnings, watches, winter storm warnings. There's going to be gusty winds over 60 miles per hour potentially for the area. Malls show even the potential for higher than that. If we look at total snowfall, look at this. Look at this. It just increased exponentially as snow totals through Saturday morning, just like 4 to 5 days. Look at that, over 130 inches in one spot, actually. Lake Tahoe, that is skiers' delight right now. California has been a pretty inactive season so far, so this is very beneficial snowfall. But there's going to be so much of it. The travel is going to be nearly impossible over places like Donner, Summit, and stuff like that. So please do not be going over the passes over the Thursday into Saturday for parts of California. Just really heavy snows. Measuring in feet. Winter storm warnings have 2 to 5 feet, but there's going to be likely even more than that in some localized areas. And this is looking at snowfall rates per hour. As we go into Thursday, as the main part of the system moves in Thursday morning, look at these rates. Look at this. This model, the European model, is showing snowfall rates in 1 hour approaching 4.7 inches an hour. So that's basically, you're almost getting a half a foot of snow in just 60 minutes. That is very heavy snowfall. As that atmospheric river, all the moisture, it gets wrung out as it slams into the high terrain of the Sierra Nevada mountains. The NAM model even shows rates up to 9 inches per hour, so nearly impossible driving conditions, especially with gusty winds, which I'll show you here right now. As this frontal system and the low pressure system move in later on Thursday, you can see gusty winds even approaching parts of San Francisco, going down to Los Angeles, gusts over 40, 50, 60 miles per hour for some of the higher terrain with those. But look at this, up in the Sierra Nevada, you're going to get super intense snowfall rates, but you're also going to get wind gusts potentially over 60 miles per hour or up to 60 miles per hour in some areas. So it's going to be localized blizzard conditions as well up there. So some crazy weather for California over the next couple of days. Please just stay safe in all these areas. There's going to be potential for flooding on the coast as well. There's going to be strong winds. There's just an assortment of hazards. California kind of goes out with a bang whenever they get any sort of atmospheric river down there, because they have a very dynamic topography and climate down there. Now looking at the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. Generally, we look to start warming up as we go through February 17th to 21st. You can see that the orange is starting to creep up up on this latest update. You can see the Arctic air, though, is keeping the east socked in. I'm going to be heading out to Kansas City on Thursday morning for the National Storm Chasing Summit in Kansas City. Temperatures will likely get down in the single digits, maybe start approaching negative on a couple of nights. So the coldest temperature I've ever felt was 8 degrees Fahrenheit from an Arctic blast here in Western Washington a couple of years ago. So I'm likely to experience the coldest temperature I've ever felt. Wind chills will likely get in the negative, so wish me luck out there. There's also potential for a snow event on Saturday while I'm down there as well. And they're actually going to be getting a winter storm here tomorrow into Thursday. Thankfully, my flight comes in on Thursday afternoon, so I shouldn't be affected by that. The 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook from February 17th to 21st, below average for California. After that, this system moves through, that you guys look to start drying out as a ridge of high pressure kind of continues to just circulate over the southwest. You can see the Pacific Northwest, though, is still getting in on the action with multiple rounds of storm systems possible as we go through next week, which I showed you guys earlier. 8 to 14 day outlook for temperature in February 19th to 25th. Above average, starting to be favored. This is our first orange for like a couple of weeks now, actually. So it's we're gonna finally start warming back up, and we can start getting we may start, some malls have been approaching us getting towards 60 degrees in 10 days or so. It's not unheard of this time of the year, but we'll just continue to look at that as we go. You can see parts of Washington, and this would include British Columbia. You can see there is potential for some above average precipitation as well. However, California looks to just really not have the good rest of February for precipitation down there. So take on this next big system while it lasts, because you guys will likely dry out for a while. So I hope everybody's having a great day. Another video with a lot to talk about, everything from snow, freezing rain, gusty winds, Arctic air, coldest area of the season. I hope everybody found this video enjoyable and informative. I know it kind of like I just threw a bunch of stuff at you, but I hope you guys understood it. Please stay safe out there. Potential for winter precipitation as we go through Thursday and the Friday for parts of the Pacific Northwest. Before we warm up, it'll likely be almost all rain for the lowlands as we go in the Saturday and Sunday as well. But pretty potent atmospheric river in the California as well. Super heavy snowfalls for the mountains down there. Heavy rain, potential for flooding down the lowlands on the coastline around San Francisco, Los Angeles. Mudslides possible as well. So anyways, take care, everybody. I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of your week. I will likely not have a video out until next week, unfortunately, as I will be preoccupied at the Storm Chasing Summit down there in Kansas City. So anyways, take care, everybody, and I'll talk to everybody in the next video.